Good afternoon, everybody. I am Steve Andrews. I am an engineering supervisor with CORE Electric Co-op. We are your friendly neighborhood co-op just to the south of here. We implemented our AUD implementation in the beginning of 2024, and I was the engineering lead during that time. Since then, I've handed off the duties of running AUD and making sure that the trains are on time to our AUD team, which you see up here with me. But before I hand it off to them again, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about CORE. Here's our service territory. We are the largest distribution cooperative in Colorado, and I believe we're about, last time I heard, we were the 23rd largest in the country, so we're pretty large for a co-op. We have approximately 180,000 members, and our service territory is about 5,000 square miles. And we serve a pretty diverse area. We've got some really rugged mountain terrain, and we've got some sprawling suburbs and dense, little towns that we serve. So we've got the funds of building in the mountains, and we get the joys of building those alley jobs that we all love. Currently, we've got 12 distribution designers and 1 drafter, and we process about 1,200 jobs a year. So we do a lot with a little, but that's most co-ops. And let me go ahead and let Josh take over from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. My name is Josh Sandillo. I'm one of the AUD admins for CORE Electric. I'm also the QA specialist, so 2 full-time jobs balancing together. Luckily, I have Leslie to help me out. Just wanted to give you guys kind of a little background. So prior to January of 2024, our primary design program was ArcMap Designer. ArcMap Designer was very sluggish when we're talking about performance with staking sheets. That was one of the biggest heartaches with all the designers. Basically, if you had a subdivision design, you could start creating a staking sheet and go get breakfast, go get coffee, basically do another job or something like that while that was loading. So it was very, very slow. Customization was also very minimal. It wasn't very user-friendly at all, and the user experience was just not flexible for anything. Going to AUD, it's much faster. We do a subdivision design, and the staking sheet, only takes a few seconds, so that's really nice. Our senior designers, they get a little upset about that because now they have to get their coffee before they start designing. Customization, we customize almost every day based on what the designers are looking for or what QA is looking for, supervisors, and there's improved usability and adaptability. Just talking about the rollout process, so early to late 2023 was the testing and configuration. That was Steve and his group. I was actually a distribution designer at the time, so unfortunately I wasn't able to be a part of that group. Late 2023, that's kind of where I came in, and early 2024, Cory and I actually were distribution designers, so we were able to take on that responsibility of actually drawing an AUD, testing a few just random designs, stuff that we had designed in ArcMap over to AUD. The full release to the distribution design team was early 2024 in January. Basically, as soon as the new year came, we had training right after that, and then we rolled out. It was more of a show and go. We had a training that was approximately 3 days. One was kind of like a classroom setting, just talking about what we wanted to do, what we were looking at, opened up AUD, kind of talked through it. And then the last 2 days, we're actually having designers click and learn and play around with everything. It was led by Steve, our old AUD admins, and SMEs. So we did have a team of 3 that did that training. For the follow-up support, we did have 2 more SMEs, so we had Leslie come in a little bit after that. She has experience with AutoCAD. I'll let her talk about that. And myself and Cory, we were all able to basically show all the new designers coming in and the senior designers that were there the AutoCAD experience provided ongoing guidance, and we were able to show them what we needed to do, basically. We also had to have a separate AutoCAD training. I know pieces of AutoCAD we use, line cutting and creating squares and stuff like that. Real basic training we had for some of the senior designers. And then resources for continued learning. We have a OneNote documentation that Leslie will talk about. And then we also have a Teams channel where all the drama is and everybody can just talk about their day and all that good stuff. So it's pretty useful, pretty entertaining to watch. The challenges that we see is, we had designers that were there for years and years, and they like their hand-drawn or, staking sheets that were all manual. They don't like change. Nobody likes change. So transitioning to a new design platform has its own challenges, just, with experience, but also just with people and their personalities. AUD introduces new workflows, tools, and expectations. A lot of designers were actually excited for all the new stuff coming out. We have a team of very diverse. We have a couple senior designers that have been there for years and years, and then we have very green new designers. So it was nice to have kind of like a split of the group. Some strategies for the success, definitely highlight the benefits. Again, show them right away. Staking sheet doesn't take 30 minutes to create anymore. Or this program opens up in a few minutes and you can get going on your designs right away. Showcase AUD's capabilities and advantages to build excitement and buy-in. Demonstrate the tools tailored to the group. So we definitely opened it up to all the designers and said, hey, what do you guys want to see? And basically from day 1 till today, we get the designers to tell us what they want to see. And that's kind of how we build our configuration and anything we want to do moving forward. Initial training was delivered to a large group, and it was very condensed in 3 days. Smaller hands-on sessions probably would have been a little bit better in my eyes. Having that one-on-one time with a group of 2 or 3 designers is always super helpful. I noticed that they will also ask a lot more questions. Definitely give time for the SMEs to fully understand and master the platform. We had a pretty short time to become SMEs in this, so it was near the end of the year, and then we had to just roll out with it and then kind of build from there. Patience and persistence will be essential to the team, and just be flexible as things roll out. Communication is also key. Establish those open lines of communication early. Make sure designers can go into those team platforms, make sure they can complain, make sure they can say what's working well, what's not working well, what they want to see, because sometimes you can pick and piece, each one of those Teams messages or emails or anything like that. Encourage the feedback, questions, and collaboration through the transition. We found that Teams and OneNote is the best. It gives, the Teams is like that instantaneous right then and there in everyone's face, whereas like OneNote is much easier to put all the problems, talk about the problems, give bigger solutions, stuff like that. And looking ahead, customization will come with time and experience, and patience and persistence will be essential as the team adapts to the platform. I'll pass it on to Leslie.
Thank you, Josh. First and foremost, we just want to thank you guys for giving us some time Today, my name is Leslee Perez. I'm the newest up here to CORE. I've been with them just a little over a year. Recently got promoted to electric system designer and have taken on an admin role as well. So handling those two jobs is very fun. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our configuration and how we work and how we keep track of everything. So with AUD, it's been an ongoing process as well as a learning process. It's never complete. We've had a couple, we still have in-person training sessions. We've had, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, so give me a little patience. We have an SME that's outside. His name is Matt Smith. We meet with him every other week. It's normally me, Josh, and Cory up here. We are in charge of organizing and getting feedback from the designers. If there's anything missing, if there's anything that they want to add that's broken, we compile that into our OneNote, and then we meet with Matt Smith, who either does the configurations or he helps us to move those along. We also had him come into our office. We had a one-on-one session. It was me, Josh, and him, where he showed us a little bit of the back end of how the actual configuration works and how we can do those ourselves if we wanted to go more into depth on those. And then he also took some time to meet with the designers and just do like a little thorough refresh, as well as showing tips and tricks and then how he does designs. So that was really helpful on both sides. I'm going to show you guys some of the things that me and Josh learned when meeting with Matt. So one thing that we learned was rule manager, as they called it, clicky-clack code. So he showed us how to go into our own AUD, and if there was little adjustments that we wanted to make to any of our rules for any like validations or notices or messages, he showed us how simple it is to do certain changes like that. Another thing we learned was the customization user interface. I don't know if you can really tell on here, but I changed one of my little icons to little SBS. It's not the best, it's very pixelated, but that was one of the things that we learned as well, was going in and looking at the back feed of the whole interface and the ribbons and all those buttons and how those are assigned. Another thing that we learned was table configuration. And this one in particular, what I have pulled up here is our CUs. This one we do have available to all of the designers. There are some times where we do find that there are some that are in AUD but not in our tables. And so we have this in our OneNote as a problem and a solution fix. So designers can go in there, they can add the CUs if it's in our table already and it just needs to be pulled up to the surface, they can do that. So like I mentioned before, we have bi-weekly meetings with Matt Smith. We do those over Teams. It'll be me, Josh, and Cory up here with Matt. Again, we compile issues or just anything that we want to add into a OneNote doc, which I'll touch on a little bit more in a bit. And then one thing we realized while going through this process was every time we got a configuration, we had to test that on our machines. So me and Josh right now are the ones that do a quick test before we do release it to the rest of the group. We got a bad build once, and Josh was the one to find that out, and unfortunately he could not work for about like a week.
About a week.
Yeah, so unfortunate. So now we do have our virtual desktop infrastructures, our VDIs, so me and Josh do hold those for testing. Like UDC talked about yesterday, we are in testing to go live with UN, so right now we are using our VDI solely for UN testing purposes. And then the OneNote doc, so we have a couple of different folders. We have one just for the admins, and then we have one for the whole group, designers and managers as well, and that's a compilation of training, issues, new releases, what new builds come with in those new releases, and I'll touch on that in just a little bit. Just want to go over some obstacles. So again, there seems to be a little bit of a trend going on. We noticed yesterday that there was a few people who had issues with their SharePoint, and we did as well. We were unable to fully utilize SharePoint for about 7 months. The best way that we could get around that at that time was to just share our DWGs through email when they would go to QA, or if they had to go to somebody else, such as a drafter or somebody, they would just have to get those emailed back and forth. Unfortunately now, it is running, so no more issues there. And like I said earlier, Josh did experience that bad build where his computer was down for about a week because of an AUD configuration build. So now we do have those VDIs, so we're not running into that issue anymore. And organization has been a learning process, and I think, you know, that's also one that we're going to have to continue to learn on. We do have a good OneNote now that works for what we do, as well as our teams. We have a couple different chats in our teams to confile issues and problems. The designers like to use the Teams one. They can talk more so with each other to see if this is an issue that they can get directly from someone else. And then the OneNote that has more so what us admins, what we've put in there, and then just like learning some stuff, which I will go over in here. So this is like a little screenshot of what our OneNote holds. I know Josh said last year there was somebody who had shown that they were using OneNote and how they utilized that. So thank you to whoever that was. I don't think you remember. He cannot remember. So thank you, because we use it now and we love it. So we have 3 different folders. We have one folder, which is the AUD, that's accessible to all. And that's going to have the common issues and then their solutions. We have design practices. We have release config build releases. So anytime that we come out with a new configuration, we put all the notes in there so designers can go in there and see what that new build holds. The second note folder that we have is AutoCAD Notebook. So I have about like 10 years of experience with AutoCAD. So when I started, I put this one together. When I came in, they had just started using it for about 5 to 6 months, so there were still a lot of people who were really green to AutoCAD. So I was able to come in and make this folder for a lot of those people who were still struggling with just the basics, or if they wanted to get more advanced as well. I have, beginner and advanced, depending on if people really wanted to go out of their way to learn more. I provided a folder for that. And the last folder that we have is the AUD admin folder. So that one is just the admins, us up here, as well as Steve and the other supervisor have access to that. So those are if we have any meetings and there's certain things that we want to keep between admins and ourselves, we will hold those meeting notes in there, as well as certain fixes that we only have access to, such as the purge command. That's also in there. That's only for us to be able to view. We don't trust many people to use those. Yeah, just little stuff like that. That's it for me, and I'll pass it on to Cory.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Cory Murray. I've been with CORE for about a decade now. Started my first 2 years in the GIS department as a technician there, the last 7 years as a designer, and recently transitioning into the QA role. So I'm going to speak kind of from a designer's perspective in our day-to-day use of AUD during this process. I was one of the biggest fighters of transitioning to AUD. ArcMap was my bread and butter for about 15 years, so having this hard transition was a difficult task for myself, but ultimately needing to take a step back, realize this is the best use of our time for the company and for our customers. While the transition was hard for us, getting into AUD with the workload that we already had, trying to learn a new software on top of that, really had to take a step back and kind of keep a mindset of slow is smooth, smooth is fast, to allow us to really understand the why of what we're doing. But now that I think the majority of our department, it really has their feet underneath them, now we're trying to make a focus on maintaining continuity within the department. I think Leslie and Josh mentioned earlier, we conduct monthly and biweekly meetings as a group. These roundtables to really ensure that everybody's trying to express their concerns, sharing successes and those failures with colleagues using AUD, just really trying to benefit the team as a whole. And then when utilizing our AUDs, with our GIS imports, while our GIS department does a fantastic job, it doesn't always come in the way we need to, so correcting discrepancies on the front end, whether pole types, locations, line segments, things of that nature, correcting those things on the front end will really help drive for a more successful design from start to finish. And some of the items that Josh and Leslie were kind enough to help us out with as a group were some of these automation tools. In this case, we've got non-GIS CUs or project units that we'll utilize that will allow our designers to get in there on the front end, really drive in all of the units required there to not have to worry about that on the back end after they've gotten their hands into that design so far. They're able to prep as much as they can to, again, make sure those designs are as successful as possible, allowing QA not to kick back their jobs nearly as often, and I think kind of drive confidence within the group as well. And one of the bigger tools that I have found to be a benefit to myself working with larger projects such as subdivisions is our AUD copy and paste. I'm not sure how many times you get 99% of the way through a design that's already been prepped to be released for contracting or anything like that. The developer comes back with some pretty substantial changes, and you spent hours, days, potentially weeks working on these projects. So as everybody else has mentioned before, kind of utilizing the teams in the company's time as effectively as possible. Instead of scrapping or purging a design, we're able to copy in that AUD environment what was needed and paste it into our new designs. That way our designers aren't spending an additional days, hours, potentially weeks redrafting some of these larger projects. Let's see. Oh, and then, yes, auto-creating non-GIS CUs. Again, another task that'll help automate. We're not spending these 10 seconds at a time, click by click by click. We're able to help with those small changes really kind of have a good effect on the amount of time a designer is working on these projects. And in this case, for our transformers, we're able to include our non-GIS CUs for the sweeps, the makeups, and the internals for those transformers as well. So the designers are able to really, let's see, that is small. Disregard, sorry, that was the next slide. But yeah, just another look at the internal makeups with our primary makeups, secondary makeups, elbows, lightning arresters. They're able to go through and get all of that done in one simple command package and avoid a lot of back and forth and additional clicks that will help them along. Oh, and the staking sheets, I apologize. As Josh alluded to, the speed at which these staking sheets are being generated has been awesome. Instead of taking hours in some instances, these can generate in 5 seconds. When I'm able to do myself QA, QCs very fast and have some very smooth back and forth internally before I have the confidence to move that on to Josh and the team to make those final reviews. So.
All right, so looking back, moving forward, as we've been saying, change is going to happen, and whether people like it or not, we just have to kind of get used to it. Embrace that evolution and adaptability, and also stay informed and proactive with some changes. Also, training is a two-way street. Designers are going to teach you something as much as you're going to teach a designer something. So, having that open form of communication, the shared expertise, having different types of people at all those meetings, in all those chats, with like Leslie with her AutoCAD experience or Cory with his design experience over the years. It's very nice to have a very diverse team. Foster collaboration across the different departments as well. GIS, kind of like what Cory was stating, management, internal IT, and also the AUD admins. And accept and be okay that things will break. I don't think we've had anything just smooth sailing, no problems, no concerns, no questions. So, every issue is an opportunity to improve the system. So we kind of take that with a positive smile.
All right. So what is there to look forward to with CORE? So we are always looking for opportunities for improvement. Right now, while we don't necessarily have a plan, this is more so a continuation of as our configuration goes. We want to continue to improve how we work and our efficiency in our workflow. So we are looking to update soon. We're actually going to next week, I think, go to 8.5.6. We do in the future want to go to 9.1. Right now we are on AutoCAD 2023. That IT has taken over our AutoCAD licensing, so we have to wait a little bit on them, and as soon as we're able to transition or update our AutoCAD, then we want to be in that 9.0 or 9.1 as it is now. We also just have to accept that we've already learned a lot of lessons, and we're going to continue learning lessons. I think we're at a point now where we've gotten a lot better with our configurations. We were doing them when I started. It was pretty much every other week, if not every week. There was things that we had to fix or things that we had to add, or designers wanted this, designers didn't want that, as well as just our standards changing. Everything now has kind of mellowed down, so we're not having those constant builds come out, and with that, it's a big improvement on our part, so we don't have to update DWGs, which I'm not sure if anyone else has had this issue, but we learned quickly that it's not smart to update DWGs, and we got to learn the purge command, and now we love the purge command, but if we don't have to use it, we don't want to use it, so we do not update DWGs. But yeah, so leave it at that if anyone has any questions. Perfect. Thank you guys for your time.